Warning: the following content may be disturbing to some individuals. Consumer discretion is advised.
Sirens of the Supernatural. Welcome back to Sirens of the Supernatural, where we're here talking and discussing Mothman. Last week's interview, we touched on that with Travis Short. And now we're going to, I'm getting ready to blow y'all's mind, actually, is what I'm going to do.
I'm excited.
Okay? All right.
Wait, are we going to talk about the Mothman statue at all?
We can. Just don't let me forget. Okay. And we have pictures. We have pictures that we're going to throw up on social media of the Mothman statue there in Point Pleasant as well.
We have.
And there's also a museum there, and there's all kinds of great stuff that we'll talk about.
Yeah.
But first, I want to say, regardless of what it was or is, Mothman has been seen before Point Pleasant and since then. I did a deep dive on all the sightings, like any recorded sightings I could find of a creature that resembled Mothman. So Spring Hill Jack. Have y'all ever heard of Spring Hill Jack? Okay, near London, in the countryside back during the Victorian era. There were many reports of a creature that sounds a lot like Mothman. They nicknamed this creature Spring Hill Jack because he seemed to be able to fly and was about the same size as what as how Mothman is described. So that was one. And then back in Texas in the 1950s, reports started coming in of a bat humanoid-like creature, and many people saw this and reported it. And then, get this, 2 people saw a winged black female humanoid creature that flew right over them in Vietnam in the 1960s. All of those descriptions sound a lot like Mothman. Tall, black, red glowing eyes, could leap and fly. So the one in the summer of 1953 in Texas that was spotted in Aurora, Texas, Wise County has been a hotbed of Mothman sightings, and the area considered by many ufologists to be the location of the first supposed UFO crash 50 years before Roswell. So here's another UFO tie-in. At a location where Mothman has been spotted. Unidentified flying objects were also spotted. Then more recent sightings since Point Pleasant. I kind of tried to do a little timeline here. It says a creature was spotted in Ohio in 1975 that looked similar to what is described as Mothman. Twice in Pennsylvania in 1981, again in Kentucky in 1986, and then 3 times back in Point Pleasant, there were reports of Mothman sightings in 1994. And this was what really intrigued me. On 9/11, there were sightings and even pictures taken of winged human creature flying between the 2 towers minutes or seconds before the first aircraft attack. And Travis Short last week said, well, he didn't say this. I don't think he said this on the actual recording, but when we were talking about it off camera, he said, according to the FAA flight traffic reports, the latitude and longitude location of the aircraft that flew into the Pentagon on that day, guess where it was? Directly above Point Pleasant, West Virginia, when it changed course and flew back to the Pentagon. It was right above Point Pleasant. Then in 2016, local news station WCHS reported that a man who had recently moved to town for his business and didn't even know about the Mothman legend, was driving along Route 2 when he saw something leaping from tree to tree. He stopped his vehicle, got out. He snapped a few pictures that show a large creature with pointed wings and bent legs. But the man refused to give an interview and adamantly claimed that the photos are not doctored. So that was in 2016. Then the next year, and I know y'all know who Josh Gates is. Lyndsay, you know who Josh Gates is.
Yes, love him.
His show and his YouTube channel, he reported that there were nearly 90 sightings of a Mothman-like creature in and around Chicago in 2017. More than one witness saw the creature flying near the Sears Tower. Everyone who saw it said it was a large bat-like humanoid creature with wings. It was all over the news there. And so that's why Josh Gates caught wind of it and decided to go and investigate it. And you can, I'll put this link to that YouTube session so y'all can watch that, because I watched a little bit of it. I didn't watch the whole thing, but he brings on people that saw it. They're describing it. He's trying to debunk it, or, he does what he does. He tries to debunk it to see if, he can. But that was really interesting. And that brings us to the theory that some people think that the sightings almost always seem to precede a terrible disaster. And here we go. In China, in 1926, sightings of a figure resembling the Mothman flooded a region in southeast China, and they said that the figure was a menacing figure known to the locals as the Man Dragon, and it was spotted hovering over, I can't pronounce the name of this dam, but it's Xiaonte Dam. And just after those sightings, a 40 billion gallon flood struck the nearby farming villages, and 15,000 people died from the dam's collapse. Jumping ahead to Germany in 1978. And this makes me wonder, what if Mothman is trying to save people? What if his appearance is trying to prevent some kind of chaos or disaster? A group of miners in Freiburg, Germany, came face to face with an object blocking the entrance to the mine when they got there one day for their shift. They said it appeared to be headless and had glowing red eyes, or the head was set very far down on the chest. They initially believed that it was a man wearing a trench coat, but they soon realized when they saw a set of enormous black wings that had spread out that it wasn't a man. So the miners were standing at the mine entrance. They were dumbfounded, just staring at the creature until it let out a spine-tingling screech that caused them to rush outside. Just then, they witnessed a seismic rumble and a dust plume shooting from the mine as it collapsed. Most of the men would have perished if they had arrived at their station in the mine as usual. They believe the Freiburg Shrieker, they call it, may have saved their lives. Okay, and y'all have heard of Chernobyl, right? In 1986, what was described as a horrid humanoid with enormous wings, a black headless body, and red glowing eyes was spotted rising above the horizon of the Chernobyl nuclear plant. Was it there to bring a message of doom? Several employees in the Chernobyl plant's control room in the days before the disaster reported seeing a being known as the Blackbird of Chernobyl. And those who witnessed it reportedly experienced terrifying dreams, ominous phone calls. Many maintained that the Chernobyl Blackbird was a variation of Mothman, whose appearance always precedes the impending catastrophe. Then jump ahead to 2011 in Japan. Do y'all remember what happened in Japan in 2011, that huge tsunami? There were reports of sightings of a Mothman-like creature before the devastating tsunami of March 2011. This was followed by a powerful magnitude 9 earthquake, and the Fukushima nuclear power plant meltdown. So those were that was pretty interesting to me when I started doing a deep dive in trying to find out, where across the world has this creature been seen, and almost every place there it was followed by some kind of disaster, whether it was Mother Nature or the explosion of a nuclear power plant. So that makes me kind of believe that if there is a connection, if there is a creature like what we call Mothman, it makes me wonder if it's not trying to warn or predict, I mean, definitely in the case of the miners in Germany, that was, they couldn't explain it. They didn't know what it was, but they only knew that, hey, if it hadn't been there, they would have been down in the mines and probably killed. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think about those stories that I just shared. Does it change your opinion on anything about Mothman?
Ryan,
It actually does seem pretty interesting. Sorry, Lyndsay.
no, go ahead.
Like I said, with all the facts it's showing up, like moments before a natural disaster or some kind of occurrence, there's too many to go just to say it's a coincidence. Mm-hmm. So it does make you think, is it some type of a guardian angel? Is it some kind of prelude to disaster? Could it be a warning, or could it be the cause? So there's a lot of things there that can be looked into. What do you think, Lyndsay?
I don't think you guys are gonna like my opinion.
Hey, we need you to play devil's advocate there.
I just think I think it's too much. And part of me feels like, especially with the whole 9/11 thing where people are like, oh, we saw him, we took pictures. I've never seen any pictures of Mothman around the Twin Towers, and it could just have easily been like digitally manipulated. I feel like with that tragedy, it's a tragedy. Like, it doesn't need any extra hype around it. We don't need to say that Mothman was there. It was awful. Let it be respectful. Let it be awful. Mothman, whether he was there or not, is not the main focus of 9/11, at least to me. But I don't know. I feel like with all the sightings of this creature worldwide, maybe it's the same thing. Maybe it's a bunch of different things that tend to look a little similar. I don't know. That to me, Mothman was just somehow around Point Pleasant at that period in time. I feel like anything before Mothman, I don't know that it was him. I think maybe it could have been something different, a really big bird, a really weird looking animal, because there's so many diseases that various animals can get that make them look scary and deformed and can affect how their eyes reflect light. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just, I like the story, and I think it's creepy, and I think it's fun, but I think right now too skeptical to really put any stock in it. I feel like if I saw it, that would definitely change my mind. But right now I'm just like, it's fun, but I don't know about, I don't think it's that deep. I don't think it's that serious.
Well, and I want to just interject too the theory about fallen angels, because Travis talked a little bit about that. And I tend to think that there's something to this Mothman creature. I'm not sure if it's a fallen angel, but you can go back and, hear, for our listeners, you can go back and hear that discussion in last week's interview. Because I do think there are things out there that we don't understand. And there have been times when humans have seen angels, according to the Bible. And I've personally talked with at least one person who believes she saw an angel right before her husband passed on. I don't think that the angel looked like Mothman, but I'm not saying that it couldn't be some kind of creature like that we're not as familiar with. But I thought that was interesting when he went down that little side trail of maybe it could be a fallen angel. What did you think about that, Ron?
Yeah, there's a lot to that, because they're specific as far as the way they describe the wings. They didn't say bat wings or, any other type of wings, leathery or, very stiff or anything like that. They specifically said angel wings, which is, a lot different description than what most other ones are. It could be anything, because there is the supernatural tie in there. He had mentioned some occult practices, the farm animals and things that had got slaughtered beforehand there in West Virginia. Also, with all the sightings, it could be a prelude. It could be like a fallen angel, I'm sure all angels look different, just like all humans do. So I don't know. There's a lot to this. So the more you dig, the deeper the hole, and they branch off into different directions, and it just depends on which way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
But you got to look at it from different perspectives.
And I do think, like, especially surrounding natural disasters or these really big tragedies, humans are always gonna try to find a reason why. Like, why did this happen?
Yeah.
What's going on? Why did this happen? It can't just be a disaster, or it can't just be a tsunami that happened because of an earthquake. Like, having Mothman be sighted or be the cause of it just gives us an explanation. Because in reality, when it's something like that, that's a natural disaster, there's really not a big explanation. It's just natural from the earth. It's what happens. But because it's so big and there was such a huge loss of life, people always want to try to find an explanation of, well, why did that happen?
Or why did it happen when it happened? Yeah.
Or like, why did it happen to us? Like, what did we do? Oh, we saw Mothman. He's trying to warn us of something, or that's a bad omen. There's always something that can be said for trying to explain something away.
Yeah, true. And it's like it almost helps give a little more closure to it. Yeah, I agree. And I wanted to tell our listeners that just like we said, we need to make a trip to Point Pleasant. You can make a trip to Point Pleasant as well. The town has really finally embraced Mothman, and there's a life-size statue of Mothman there in the town you can go to and see. We'll put some pictures of that up on our social media. Lyndsay's sister, my other daughter, was there in the spring and got to go to the Mothman Museum and just kind of visit the town. And the town is still a small town. This Mothman Festival that they have every year in September, and we'll put that link to the Mothman Festival on our social media if you'd like to go. It's not just about Mothman. They have all kinds of speakers that come to town and speak over the course of a few days there, from everything about UFOs to Bigfoot to there are all kinds of topics they cover. And so it sounds like a really interesting vibe they've got going on there. And to be there during the Mothman Festival, of course, it helps the town economically. And because sometimes the population swells to 3 times its size during that festival. So it's really good for the town, especially because when the bridge collapsed, people, that was the main thoroughfare for supplies and people traveling. It was very easy for them to travel 2 miles rather than traveling 20 miles this way, then 20 miles back down to Point Pleasant from Ohio. And so when the bridge collapsed, it hurt the town. And so this is one way that that the legend of Mothman has actually finally helped the town as far as economically. And there are still people living in the town that were eyewitnesses back in, 1966, 1967. Now, a lot of those have passed on, but there are still people there. And Travis said they will talk to you if they feel like you're not there to exploit them or, make fun of them, or if there's good reason, they will talk to you. I don't know how many of them go to the Mothman Festival, but it would be cool if we could go in 2024. So we'll talk about doing that. Maybe we can do some live stream videos from the Mothman Festival. I think that would be so cool. Lyndsay, what were you going to say about the statue? You just think it's funny?
What?
Do you just think it's funny? Or
I just love it.
You love it?
Because Bob Roach was the artist that designed the statue, because the idea was brought to him. They wanted to make a statue for the town. So he spends a year making the statue in his garage. And the final result is this like 6-foot metallic. He's got 6-pack abs. He's got a hairy chest. There's no like visible genitalia or anything. He's not wearing any clothes. But if you go around him, his wings.
What about it?
His wings are open enough, just open enough in the back that you can see. He's got a whole. He is cheeked up. Like the butt on this statue, like he's got a whole dump truck back there. And it is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Because in the front, he's like very menacing. He's got these red eyes. He's so tough. But in the back, like he's thick. He is thick. And it's the funniest thing I've ever seen. I don't know why. I don't know why he took that artistic choice, but you know what? I agree with it. I agree with that.
It's working for you, huh?
It is, yeah. It is.
That's hilarious because Courtney sent pictures to me, right? And she said, you can use these on social media, but I didn't see any pictures from the back.
So, I'll find some. We'll post some.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to definitely post some. And she said the museum, is kind of cool too. I mean, it's not a very big museum, but it's kind of cool. And last week I posted one of the pictures that she had sent from inside the museum of a life-size drawing that someone had done of Mothman. But hey, I'm glad you had that info on the artist because all I knew was his name. I didn't know any of the rest of it. But does he live there in Point Pleasant or?
He passed away in 2015. I think I'm pretty certain that I saw that earlier today. But I do think he was from the town.
Yeah.
Lived in the town.
Well, that's cool. Ryan, if we do go to Point Pleasant and we're there for the Mothman Festival, we could get all kinds of ideas for topics for the podcast. I mean, evidently there are literally thousands of people who are interested in the paranormal, who have written books about it, who are, experts in different branches of the paranormal. So it would be, I'm sure we would each find our jam there as far as paranormal stuff. Would you be willing to go?
Oh, absolutely. I love road trips. I love supernatural. I love investigating things. We always know where we'll find Lyndsay at, though, if she ever goes missing. So,
yeah.
Snagging that statue.
Yeah, and we've got to, if we do go, we definitely need to go out to the TNT area because I would like to see what's left out there. I know that there are, some kind of dilapidated structure still out there, and people go out there all the time now looking for, Mothman. There was kind of a resurgence in that after Travis and his partners made their documentary. There were others that started to come out. And then, of course, there was the movie, The Mothman Prophecies. And so it's amazing to me, as I was doing research, how many people are interested in this subject. And I didn't realize how much there was to the subject either. I had seen the movie, but that was about it. And now I'm reading a cool book called Mothman Behind the Red Eyes. I'll put that book and some other suggested books, documentaries, and movies up on our social media in case our listeners are interested in doing a deep dive for themselves. And I guess that concludes Mothman for now, unless you all have other questions or things that you wanted to talk about. Y'all good?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. Hopefully when we go to the festival, we take some time, maybe go do some investigating. Maybe we might be able to find something, that was overlooked, or maybe something interesting. There's always somebody that has something to say if, you find the right person, or,
That's
you
true.
go to the right area. But yeah, it'd be a great thing. It's a great thing to experience. And I look forward to it.
Yeah, me too. And I'm glad you said there's always someone who has something to say, because we're hoping our listeners have more to say on your supernatural experiences. We need some stories. So if you're listening, send in your story. Anything spooky happening in your neck of the woods, or to you personally. You can email us at sirensofthesupernatural@gmail.com and send those stories in. And you can be sure to check out our social media this week. We are on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Sirens of the Supernatural, and then at Supernatural Sirens on TikTok. So give us a thumbs up or a like or some love or comments. Engage with us on social media. The more you engage, the more people see it. So we thank you for listening. And Lyndsay and Ron, I want to thank you again for being on here to discuss Mothman. It was an interesting topic, and I'm looking forward to more next week. And next week, our episode is going to be on sleep paralysis and night terrors. You don't want to miss that. I personally have never had a night terror, sleep paralysis. I've just had some weird, scary nightmares, but this is a whole different level of scary sleep time. So you don't want to miss that. So tune in next week, and we'll see you there. And we always say, stay
spooky.
Bye.
Please be sure to join us next week, Friday, December 1st, when Sirens Rhonda, Ryan, and a special guest explore the mysterious phenomena known as sleep paralysis and night scares, an episode featuring several real-life experiences of our special guest. The Sirens of the Supernatural podcast can be found on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, and all other major podcast platforms. Join us each week for more spookiness. We also encourage you to join us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Sirens of the Supernatural, and on TikTok at Supernatural Sirens. Do you have a spooky story that you would like to share? Please email them to us at sirensofthesupernatural@gmail.com. Be sure to let us know whether or not you would like your name to be mentioned on air. If your story is chosen, we will contact you in advance to let you know when your story may be heard on the podcast. Until next time, be safe and stay spooky.